Alright, hello. I'm going to be doing a VOD review of my own Genji gameplay. This is from a scrim where basically everything that could have possibly gone wrong went wrong. Our team lost a lot of motivation, shit hit the fan, and it was target calls were not good, shot calls were not good, but we'll look through it and we'll see what went wrong. I don't have a lot of time on my hands because I have to do a lot of schoolwork. So I'm going to be starting with the first map, Lijiang, and I'll probably do it one round at a time, and then I'll just continue to VOD review when I can, because I expect this to take a while. So let's start with this one.
The
I
screen.
wanna run triple DPS
So
pharmacy
it's running triple
on
DPS.
garden, and
Garden,
then
yeah.
At
if
this
not,
point, I
I
don't know
wanna
what the
run
fucking
triple
map is.
DPS. Just triple
Uh,
DPS. Alright.
It's night market. They have a
It's
Pharah
mid.
player, so I'm
Night
guessing
market?
they'll run pharmacy.
Okay.
Oh, they fixed the basketballs!
Okay.
Oh,
Also,
I did? You know what? Fuck the stages.
everyone,
Basketball's more
Alright,
important.
everyone keep in mind, right? Look to make opportunities. If we get
So we're
gold,
running
the
triple DPS
instant
with
reaction
soldiers in
should
the
be to counter dive or triple
in-game
DPS after
audio
all.
is
Right?
a little bit too loud.
We've got
I
this.
think it
Alright.
is.
Call targets.
Remember,
Yeah.
if they got pharmacy, we kill the
Alright.
people on the ground.
So we're
let's go.
expecting them to run pharmacy, which is why we're running triple DPS in the
We
first
move out
place.
front. If they have pharmacy, we
We
go to
take
point.
out mid.
Yep, we can just
Alright.
dive from it. They're
Very
running-
bad.
They're
Alright,
going
running
they're
point.
just playing mirror comp at this point.
Winston,
This
Winston,
is
Winston,
really
by himself.
fucking overextended.
I don't know
Right,
Like,
separated,
like,
separated,
like,
separated.
Call.
Like,
Winston
like,
dead?
Okay.
He's dead.
On the Kree
Nice.
outside.
I'm
One
with
McCree in the back. Mercy dead.
like,
Nice.
Doom.
I'm with Seth. I'm with Seth.
Yeah, Zen's almost dead, Zen's
Doom,
almost
Doom,
dead.
Doom,
Zen's dead.
Zen's dead.
Watch Doom if you can.
Genji dead. Genji
Lucio's
dead.
outside.
Good shit, good shit.
feeding,
I'm on
but you
Lucio.
guys are good. Lucia's away. I think you just cap here and take forward.
Alright, that was a pretty good team fight. Let's go over what happened. Oh, fuck. Let's go over what happened again. We take mid. We notice they have a
We move
Zenyatta,
out
which
front.
means
If
they
they have
won't have a
pharmacy, we go to
Pharah,
point.
right?
Yep, we can-
If they were running a pharmacy, right, and Pharah is up there shooting rockets at us, it's really important that we take this space here. Reason being is that the way you beat pharmacy is you let the tanks dive in, you melt the tanks, and then when the Mercy who's flying up there goes in for the res, then you kill her, right? That's the general premise of how to play against pharmacy, right? And that's why I think triple DPS is really versatile, because it can do that, and it can also just function as a standard sort of dive. So what we should have done is we should have been a little bit more aggressive, specifically with me Jugga grabbing this little middle area right here. We need to grab this so that we can fall back from it. If we were just where we're standing right now, if we were just standing like right there and the enemy just engaged on us from there, we would have had nowhere to fall back other than back into spawn or maybe around into the point, which generally is not good against Pharah because she can boop you off. She just has a lot of free reign on the outside, but should have been a little
Just
looked to be
dive
a little
from
more
it.
aggressive.
Very
They're
bad.
going
They're running
point.
point.
They're
They're
going
running
point.
point.
So they take point, decides to push mid. This Winston jumps in. I don't know where from, right? We've got about 5 seconds to kill him before he runs away. He hasn't set down bubble.
Winston. He's
Whatever. Winston is overextended. At this point, I don't know where the fuck
by
my team
himself.
is.
Winston
I
by
don't know
himself.
Alright, let's see how much health he has. He just got fucking melted. He set up his bubble, like right here, and look, Bunny goes in. He's right there. That was a smart play, setting the bubble, trapping the Winston. It would have been nice if maybe the bubble was like maybe a little bit more that way, right? But I'm just kind of nitpicking. It denies the Winston any support from his team. We fucking make quick work of him.
Separated.
Okay, see, now let me just quickly discuss how what the playstyles of Genji are, so you guys can have, or whoever's watching this can have a little more context to how I play Genji, right? There are generally three different ways to play Genji, right? You have the assassin, right? I'll just write it over here. Assassin, right? And this is generally like the style that pros like who are you will play. And the reason the general premise of this style is to not necessarily play around picks and eliminations, but play around your Dragon Blade and just kind of think, in terms of the grand scale of things. So the assassin play style generally is going to be looking to clean up kills, right, and just kind of finish fights. But more importantly, He's less of a DPS and more of a tempo tool for the team. Generally, you'll see assassins constantly poking, constantly trying to build their Dragon Blade, right? Build it faster than the enemy supports because, as long as you're actively doing damage, you can still build supports. And you're supposed to be very annoying with this class. Uh, Generally, you're not supposed to commit to fights. Generally, you go in and then you disengage, right? And then you have like you've built some alt charge and you do that again and again, and then you end up building Dragon Blade very quickly. The other style, right? This is the style that Haksal plays, right? And this is like a super aggro, aggressive Genji. I don't know what the name for it is, but it's basically you play the Genji as you would a main DPS like Tracer. Um, this Genji is a lot less reliant on his Dragon Blade and a lot more reliant on initiating fights. So generally, this Genji is going to be the first to go in. He's gonna like burst like around like 120 damage, and then his team will finish them up, and then he'll get his dash reset, and then he'll be able to exit the fight again, right? So, uh, to put it in short, if this is say, all right, I'll do it in blue. Let's say this is the front line, right? This is the enemy team. This is your team, right? How the assassin generally plays is he generally just kind of gets into the back line, deals damage, and then dashes away and uses his abilities as a disengage tool, right? And generally, what you'll see is assassins. Let's say this is a bad guy right here, right? What they'll do is they'll uh, set themselves up in a way where as they deal damage and as they dash away, they can deal some poke and help build their ult charge, right? Now, how the aggro Genji plays is very different. I'm going to use pink, right? The aggro Genji uses his mobility to get in, so this is the enemy, right? So he will get in, right? This will generally burst about like 100 damage, right? And then he'll like fan the hammer, and then he will either deflect and then retreat further into the back line, or if his teammates go in and help him, he can deflect and then use the support of his teammates to generally push the front line forward, so that he has more space to back away from. And generally, uh, the very aggressive Genji, that's more reliant on mechanical skill and trust in your team, and trusting that once you go in, you will secure the kill, right, and get the dash reset so that Genji can stay alive and then either fall back or continue to push in and swing some tempo into their favor, right? So that's basically just generally the two playstyles of Genji, and I said there were three, but I meant to say two. It's important that Genjis know how to play both playstyles, but I generally lean towards the tempo playstyle, right? Where I focus more on my ult charge, right? Generally, aggressive Genjis, you'll see their teams playing around their Dragon Blade as a way to win team fights, right? Whereas generally, the only time you'll be winning team fights with as a passive Genji is if you like build Blade really quickly and then you use your Dragon Blade to swing tempo into your favor early into the fight before the enemies have their support ults built up. Those are generally two different playstyles of Genji, and you'll see in this clip that so I'm gonna rewind just a little bit. What had happened was I used my dash to kill this Winston, right?
We
So
can move
this
out front if
Winston's
they have farmers if we
overextends,
go to point.
right?
Yeah,
We
can just
capitalize
dash
on it.
They're running
They're on
They're running
point.
They're running point. Alright.
Yeah, we can get
We
point.
got no jump.
Winston's by himself.
3,
By himself.
2
Separated,
seconds,
separated,
and
separated.
then killed him, right? And this is a very good tempo play because not only have I built like 23% of my ult charge, but I dashed into him in a way that would deal damage towards the Zenyatta, which is like right here off screen, right? And at this point, I have a couple of options here. I can either fall back to my team and focus on the next target call, which is, or I'll do that in yellow because that would be the safe play. What the aggro Genji would do is the aggro Genji would start focusing the McCree and focusing the Zenyatta that are right here, and then would call for his team. I'll do that in black to come and support him, right? Now, you'll see here that I make the aggro play and I start to duel this McCree and the Zenyatta, and even though I do end up winning the fight, it definitely wasn't ideal and it needs to be a little bit more synchronized.
Winston's dead.
Nice, nice, nice.
Nice.
I'm
I-
on McCree in the back.
All right, so what I just did right there, wasn't the best deflect, but
We can
generally,
just dive.
I
They're running point.
They're
don't
going
know.
They're running point.
I anticipate McCree's to kind of
Winston,
flashbang
Winston,
the
Winston, Winston.
moment
He's
they
by
can,
himself.
right?
He's
Because
by himself.
let's say
Right,
first
separated,
target.
separated, separated.
And one thing you want to do as a Genji is when you flashbang, you want to get as close to McCree as possible, right? Or you have one of two options, right? Let's say you have an enemy McCree. Oh, what the fuck? Let's say you have an enemy McCree right here, right? That's his hat, right? And then this is the Genji, right? And he's deflecting, right? The closer you are to the McCree, the more of his sightline is going to be obstructed by the deflect, and the harder it's going to be for the enemy McCree to hit a piece of floor or the ceiling or around you to stun you, right? Uh, and generally, if you intend on playing aggro, you want to get as close to McCree as possible. If you intend on playing passively, right, you want to be actively disengaging away from the McCree. And even though this might seem a little counterintuitive, because at a certain distance, you can just throw his flashbang and it'll stun you, right? You're trying to put yourself out of that range as soon as possible. You've already done your job. You've grabbed the tempo. If he shoots himself or if he stuns himself, that's fine. If he ends up stunning himself, what you could do is you could just aggro in, and then you could just dash into him, and then that's that. But eh, uh, and then you could start arguing, but otherwise you want to be falling away. Now in this situation, I was aggroing on this enemy McCree right here. That's the McCree, right? And once I had flashbanged him, I should have just gone in super close. Or once I started deflecting, I should have gotten super close. But you see, I don't get as close as I should have been. And there was I definitely put myself in some danger by not getting close enough, and you see that he had the opportunity to flashbang the floor and kill me, but he doesn't. Don't know why.
Winston dead.
Nice, nice, nice.
Nice.
I should have been way closer. And watch that again. I have to scroll all the way back.
We can move out front if they have farm recipe, go to point.
Yep, we can just dive. Damn it. They're running point.
They're going
They're running point.
point.
They're running point. Alright.
Yeah, we can get point.
Winston. He's by himself. Winston's by himself.
Right, separated.
Okay, sounds fine.
Separated, separated.
Killed that
Winston dead.
damage Zenyatta. And then look, there's like this distance here where he could just flashbang the floor right in front of me, right? Like ideally, I need this McCree to take up like my entire face, right? So he's just unable to do anything against me other than take damage. And the reason this is such a good aggro Genji play is if you're depending on your team to follow up for you, right? Like let's say my team had followed me on killing this McCree, right? By standing in front of him and just deflecting and taking up all of his screen space, he's basically he just leaves himself with like 2 seconds of invulnerability. And yes, this was dangerous because after the deflect, he could have just flashbanged and killed me. But because I'm playing aggro Genji and depending on my team, that's not really that big a deal. It's more important that I create the opportunity for my team to dive him while he's doing nothing.
Nice, nice, nice.
Nice.
That was a mistake. Luckily, he was discorded, so I just insta kill him. I end up getting shot from the Zenyatta
Mercy dead.
behind me, or I don't think I shot from. This is really tedious.
Himself. Winston's by himself.
Right, separated, separated, separated.
Winston dead.
Getting shot myself. I was
Nice.
dead.
McCree in the back. Mercy dead.
Alright, so I make the passive Genji play, and instead of trying to fight the Zenyatta, what I do is I spend my dash to dash away from him and towards my own team, right? The safe play. Let's keep watching.
Oh, I'm with Seth. I'm with Seth.
Yeah, Zen's almost dead.
Yeah, I'm back with my team because I noticed that my team is still really far behind.
We can just dive. Damn it. They're running point. They're running point. They're running point. Alright.
Yeah, we can get point.
Winston. He's by himself. Winston's by himself.
Right, separated, separated, separated.
Winston dead.
Nice, nice, nice.
Nice.
Oh, the
McCree in the back. Mercy dead.
because he didn't want to flash.
I'm with
me
Seth,
because he
I'm with
wanted
Seth.
to
Yeah,
finish
Zen's
the
almost dead.
first. At this point, someone calls the Zen is almost dead.
He's
Let's
separated.
watch out.
Winston dead.
Nice, nice, nice.
Nice.
McCree in the back. Mercy dead.
I call Mercy dead. So I dash Zen through,
I'm with Seth. I'm
Alright.
with Seth.
Yeah,
and at this point, Doomfist is on his own. My team is on Zenyatta on the outside right here, right? I should have probably helped my team with the Zenyatta, but they were gonna kill him anyway, and they didn't have my dash. By my, because my
Zen's
team
almost
was
dead,
on
Zen's
Zenyatta,
Zen's dead.
it reset my dash. The Genji tries to run away, I kill him.
Watch Doom if you can.
Maybe a little dangerous if the Genji had landed a nice burst on me.
Sap, I'm
maybe
with
I
Sap.
would've
Yeah,
died.
Zen's almost dead. Zen's almost dead.
Zen's dead.
Zen's dead.
Watch Doom if you can.
Genji's
Genji's
dead.
dead.
Genji's
Lucio's
dead.
outside.
Lucius outside. I chase him, right? I know the rest of the team is dead. I think that it was the right play to chase this Lucio because someone then calls out that the Lucio's outside, and I think my team should have maybe help followed me, stagger this dude, but I don't end up getting.
I'm on Lucio.
Lucio's away. I think you just cap here and take.
Hopefully that was a good
forward.
demonstration of the aggro
What
Genji
else?
versus passive Genji. The Lucio gets
Yeah.
away.
Fine.
Overall, that was some work. Some improvement would be. I have a lot of stuff to improve on, but 62% ult charge is above average for the first team fight, and because we picked the Zen relatively quickly, I'm definitely gonna have Blade before the trance and possibly.
Okay, we don't have
before
much
Beat.
on. We don't have much in the way of ults.
I'm this much to Blade.
Sylvan has like no sound barrier because nobody took any damage that fight, so we have to keep that in mind. We're winning these team fights so cleanly that they'll be ahead of us in support ults, which makes my job that much more.
I might get it
important.
sometime next fight.
Okay,
Just
we're
hold mid,
diving
just hold mid.
aggressively.
They're pushing left.
So at this
left,
point, Tracer is at the left over there. Zenyatta. Who is that? That's a Genji.
left. Or
Yeah.
at least Zen and Genji
Tracer
are.
Or
behind.
Zenyatta and Genji.
Tracer,
Tracer's
Tracer,
behind.
Tracer, no
Tracer no recall. At this point, we should have just fucking chased her. We knew where she was because she pushed from. Oh, what the fuck? She pushed from there in the back, which means that she's going to be somewhere like in this general area when she recalls. We should have just fucking went in because we called her out. Everyone knew where she
Tracer
was.
recall.
She is recall.
Yep. Oh, Winston
Yeah,
by himself.
It's a good thing we didn't fucking chase her because Winston ends up diving in by himself. He has no support from his team. The Tracer just spent recall, so this is really uncoordinated from the enemy team.
Look at this monkey.
Kill this Winston.
Winston separated.
Winston dead.
Separated.
Winston- Doom.
Good. Yeah, let's just watch this team fight and then I'll comment on it afterwards.
Oh, I'm with Sap.
Yeah, Zen's almost dead. Zen's almost dead.
Zen's dead.
Zen's dead.
Watch Doom if you can.
Genji's
Genji
dead.
dead. Genji
Lucio's
dead.
outside.
Good shit, good shit.
feeding,
I'm
but
on Lucio.
you guys are good. Lucio's away. I think you just cap here and take forward. Take forward.
Watch
What
out,
are ults at?
John,
Well,
John.
everyone's really low.
Yeah.
25.
Good
Okay, we
shit.
don't have much on. We don't
Yeah,
have much in the way of ults.
I'm this much to Blade. I might get it sometime next fight.
Okay,
Just
we're
hold mid,
diving
just hold mid.
aggressively.
They're pushing left. Or
Yeah.
at least Zen and Genji
Tracer
are.
behind.
Tracer,
Tracer got no
Tracer, no
recall.
recall.
Tracer
And
recall.
then
She is recall.
initiates
Oh,
while
Winston,
Tracer-
Winston,
Yeah,
by
Winston,
himself.
Winston.
Look at this monkey.
Winston separated.
Winston dead.
Separated.
Winston- Doom.
Doom
Doom's dead.
So much health. I'm gonna keep
Doom's dead.
watching this.
Genji's by himself. He's by point.
Yeah, I'm on Genji. I'm on
Genji
Genji.
no deflect.
No, ignore him.
Zen's just clear in the back. He's
Zen-
back.
I shouldn't have made that
He's-
call
he's back, he's
because,
back.
He wasn't
Okay.
left. He's gone.
Alright,
Okay,
talk
what ult
about
at
this. Right. So at this point, I have Blade. So that was a really bad team fight from the enemy's point of view, but there was definitely things we could have done to help, uh, get more out of that team fight. If you watch the beginning of that again, Tracer's got no recall.
Tracer,
right?
Tracer, no
Tracer
recall.
recall.
She is recall.
Initiates.
Oh, Winston,
Right.
Winston,
Yeah,
by
Winston,
himself.
Winston.
If you notice, he's out of fucking speed aura, and he's got the Discord on him. I land a really nice meaty headshot into a dash from above.
Okay.
Winston separated.
Winston dead.
Separated.
Winston-
Separated.
Doom.
Doomfist.
Doomfist dead.
Oh, I guess Doomfist did dive in with him, but it's really hard to run Doomfist without an off tank.
Nice
because
dive.
he needs a lot of
Genji's
support.
by himself. He's by
Genji,
point.
Yeah, I'm on
I
Genji.
should have not called the Genji. In that situation, I should have only called him if I knew he had no cooldowns.
Doomfist dead.
I guess
Nice
I kind of
dive.
saw him. That Zenyatta was all the way in the back left. Oh. Oops. It would have been smarter to dive the Zenyatta
recall.
and Lucio.
Oh, Winston,
Yeah,
by
Winston,
himself.
Winston.
Look at this monkey.
Winston separated.
Winston dead.
Separated.
Winston-
Separated.
Doom.
Doomfist.
Doomfist dead. Doom's dead.
Nice dive.
So that Lucio is right there. Look at how far spread out they are. There's Genji here. Genji here, Lucio here, there's a Tracer over there, and then there's Zenyatta way back there. We should have either dived this guy or that guy. I don't think Bunny spent his bubble, right? Let's double check.
Or
Yeah.
at least Zen and Genji
Tracer
are.
behind.
Tracer, no
Tracer
recall.
no
She
recall.
is
I don't
recall.
think Bunny ever
Oh,
spent
Winston,
his
Winston,
bubble.
by
Look at
himself.
this monkey.
Winston.
Look at this monkey.
Oh no, he does. That was a really good fucking bubble. It isolates the Winston from the
Winston
enemy
separated.
team.
Winston dead.
Separated. Separated.
Doom.
It
Doomfist dead.
also isolates
Doom
him.
dead.
Dive.
Okay, so I guess maybe because bubble was down, it would have been a better call to focus as Lucio over the Zenyatta. Had we still had bubble up, the right call would have been to dive the Zenyatta because then we'd be able to isolate him from the Lucio aura and heals, right? Because we definitely did not have amp up, right? Their Lucio, I don't think he had amp up because they just dove in without him, right? So I mean, I mean, he probably had amp up, right? So it would have been useless trying to chase him, and we could have just isolated Zenyatta. But whatever, we should have dived to Lucio in this situation. Uh, he had Harmony Orb on him, but we know that he's gonna be closer to ult than Zenyatta, just because he survived that first team fight, whereas Zenyatta got picked very early on, right? Especially considering the fact that I have Blade coming up very soon, and that Lucio is probably like Zenyatta's probably like 40%, or like not too close to trans, and then Lucio's probably like 60% or like a little bit closer because he's been doing more healing than him and staying alive longer. Whatever.
Genji's by himself. That's my
Cool.
point.
Yeah, I'm on Genji, I'm on
Genji,
Genji.
no deflect.
No, ignore him, ignore him.
Tracer's still died. That Tracer never fucking
Where?
died.
He's
That Tracer
he's
should
back.
have
He's
been
back.
He wasn't
punished for
left, he's
overextending
gone.
and then recalling
Okay, what
too
else
early
now?
into the fight.
We have Blade.
By the way, these guys.
I have
never
Blade.
mind.
So
I have
this
Blade.
I
I
have
have Blade next.
fight
I have
should
Blade
be an
next
easy
push.
win
Okay.
because I have
I'm
Blade.
scouting top.
An important thing about Blade is that you really need support from your team. Dragon Blade isn't like a 1v6 kind of ultimate. It's more of like a taking advantage of the opportunity kind of ultimate. And it's not like, yeah, your DPS goes up, but you still kind of do the same job. It's just a lot easier.
Scouting up top.
Engage. Once their monkey
They're
dives,
not
just
a
dive
stop,
it.
they're
Once
I mean, at this point they had no support ult, so there's no point in trying to bait out ults. Should have just used this.
Let's get aggressive. We're better than them. Right?
once
Keep
monkey
that in mind.
dives, dive their backline.
I have-
Once Monkey dives, dive their backline. That was the call Sylvan made, and it's the correct call to make because I did have Blade up, right? Let's see how this team fight goes.
I have Blade. You think they'll help trans?
No, no way.
No. Okay, we should initiate
Winston on
soon.
left. Winston.
Winston.
Dive this, dive this.
He's alone. He's alone.
He's separated, he's separated,
What is he
separated.
doing?
Genji
Oh,
discard.
playing,
Yeah, I'm on
blading
Genji,
back.
Genji.
Oh, you
Nice.
do? Don't, no more, no more.
No more.
Well,
Okay.
Diva discard. Diva discard.
Don't kill baby. Don't kill baby.
Diva, they're
Stagger,
trolling.
stagger,
Don't
stagger.
Don't kill baby.
don't kill.
And then we stagger this poor fucking diva.
Their Tracer's coming out, man.
Oh, nice. Oh, watch out.
I'm just gonna say that was a shitty helix. Sylvan called that there's a tracer coming out from main. And by spending the helix on the baby diva, I didn't have the helix for the tracer. But whatever, it's
I'll
not the
speed
big
this.
deal. She was
Okay, we
fine.
have
support
we
else.
have Tran.
That was a really
once
shit
the
blade. I
monkey-
want to talk about why that was a shit blade. So, common Genji strat or a Genji technique that you see people do is if they're like less than 5% to ult charge, what they'll do is if they intend on going really deep into the backline, like let's say this is the Genji, this is the front line, and this is like, the enemies are holding up the front line, and then these are the supports in the back, these are the people you want to kill. Generally, a good play to make is to dash through as many people as you can. That'll get you your ult charge. You blade in, right, and then you swing your sword, and then you dash back into your front line, and then you snowball the rest of the fight with your team, right? And why this works is because, yeah, I'm gonna draw that again, right? Just for some, some numbers, right? Dash does 50, right? Dragon Blade Swing does 120, right? If you dash in, deal 50 damage to whoever you want to kill, right? And then you pull out your blade, right? And then from there you can either deflect or just whatever. If you do one swing and then you dash out, that kills any 200 HP squishy. How much damage is that? That's 220, which means even if you are being pocketed, even if you do have orb or whatever, it'll still be fast enough to kill him, right? And also it allows you to take just a straight up 6v5, right? And even if you don't get any more kills than that, that's still a really good blade. But what happens here is I don't actually initiate with the blade. I use the blade to clean up the fight, and the fight was already going to be won anyways. And at this point, when we won the third team fight, we should have anticipated them to have support ults, and then I should have just saved the blade for that. Let's
They're not a stop, they're not a-
Once monkey
Let's get aggressive. We're better than them. Right?
once
Keep
monkey
that in mind.
dives,
Better than
dive their
them.
backline.
I have Blade. You think they'll help trans?
No, no way.
No. Okay, we should initiate
Winston on
soon.
left. Winston.
Winston.
Dive this, dive-
also Sylvan called, or Lucio fucking called to dive the backline after after the Winston dove our backline, but he was so far overextended and such in a shit spot, and he was also discorded, and Saf's positioning is really good. Salty should maybe be outside of bubble, but whatever. He's
alone, he's alone.
Yeah, Salty runs outside of bubble, so that works out. He runs to Saf, which is really fucking good. Winston
He's
dies.
separated,
Why is he
separated.
doing
Oh,
I swapped
playing-
Diva, and I did what I said I did. I dashed through. Okay, so let's rewind a little bit.
Trans?
No, no way.
No. Okay, we should. Winston
Winston on left. Winston.
Winston.
Dive this.
He's alone, he's alone.
He's separated, he's separated,
Why is he
separated.
doing
Okay,
so?
so-
Playing,
Yeah,
blading
Genji,
back.
Genji, Genji. Nice.
Yeah,
My space
don't know.
didn't work.
Separated,
What is he
separated.
doing?
Alright, so the front line is about right here, I'd say, right? And their Zenyatta is way far in the back. This is really shitty for them because their Lucio's all the way up here. The Zen should have been in the Lucio or pushing up with this team, right? And I noticed the Zen is really far back, so I'm like, I'll dash through this Diva, right? Blade out, kill the Zenyatta, and then dash back. That's the thought process that was going on in my mind. But in reality, because the Zenyatta was so far split away from his team, and because I didn't let my team know I was that this is what I was gonna do, right? The Diva and everybody, they all just focus on them while I kill the backline. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm essentially distracting the backline while my team kind of does the dirty work, right? And at this point, my team is fighting a 5v4, right? While I'm doing this little 1v1 in the back, but totally did not need Blade for that. They're gonna have Transcendence next time.
Playing,
Yeah, I'm on
blading
Genji,
back.
Genji, Genji.
Oh,
Nice.
yeah, don't know more.
Diva discard.
No
Diva
more
discard.
else.
Don't kill
They're
baby, don't
playing
kill
Dash
baby.
back. I said what I was gonna. I said I did what I was gonna do. I was gonna dash through the front line, Blade, dash to the back line, and
Don't
Don't kill baby.
don't kill.
that was a total waste of Blade
Yeah.
because I could have killed him without it. I
Good
didn't
choices
expect
coming
him
up,
to
man.
actually zero support
Oh,
at all, but
nice. Oh, watch out.
keep that in mind.
I'll speed this. Okay,
We
we
have
have beat,
support
we
else.
have trends.
Don't-
We are
don't-
going to
don't overlap.
trans the
Trans.
blade.
Yeah, save transfer blade.
Okay, so the call is to save transfer Blade. At this point, the Genji probably has his ult, right? They probably have one of the two support ults. So it's probably gonna be the Zen. I don't think that I've seen them use Pulse before. They're probably gonna have Primal, and they just swapped Diva off of Doomfist, I believe. So we know for a fact that Diva won't have ult, right? We have our Soldier Visor. We know Diva is dead. So if they initiate a push now, or if we initiate the push now, while there's if they overextend, it'll be an easy team fight. The call should have been made if they overextend, to just pop Visor, right? Because it's better to pop it now than to pop it later, right? When the Diva is back, even if there is a better situation, if the Diva is there,
Beat for tempo, okay? Beat tempo.
Yeah.
the value out of it.
They're going to have blade this fight probably, so we're gonna
Calls
probably
me
do
to beat
that.
the tempo.
Okay, okay.
Good
Point,
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 good
point,
point.
point. Who is it?
Alright.
Oh, it's just.
I was a distraction, got fucking debated. Should have
It's my game.
expected
Oh,
that.
Winston
Monkey,
discard,
monkey,
Winston
monkey, monkey.
discard.
So, this is kind of a weird play from them. One of their flankers went to point, started distracting. Now we're caught in this little courtyard area, right? Winston and Diva. Diva is somewhere off to the right. She's doved in. The supports are still at choke.
Separated,
Monkey,
separated,
monkey.
separated.
Like monkey if we
Winston
can.
discorded.
Monkey dead. Diva,
Winston
Diva next.
dead.
Diva
Diva
next.
discard. Point,
One
discard.
Diva,
Diva than Diva than Genji.
I'm on point, I'm on point.
Did.
Oh,
They ended
shit,
up
I'm
pushing
low.
Play trans.
Nice, nice, nice.
Nice. Watch Zen.
Nice, good shit, good
Zen's
shit.
dead.
Zen,
They
Zen.
should trash
Watch baby.
because
Tracer
they
is
No,
dead.
Lucio,
Baby's
Lucio.
dead.
Let's
the
kill
last
Lucio.
fight. Salty spent his visor? Was there a call?
This fight probably, so we're gonna have to blow that.
Someone's on
Okay.
point.
Good
Point,
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 good point.
Don't
I
point.
heard him
Who
just
is
say,
it? Oh.
I'm looking for a
Winston,
visor.
Winston, Winston,
Dive
Winston,
this,
Winston.
dive this.
He's alone, he's
So
alone.
he's separated, he's separated,
Why is he
separated.
doing
Genji
that?
discard.
Oh,
Genji
playing,
discard.
Yeah, I'm on
blading
Genji,
back.
Genji, Genji.
Oh,
Nice.
yeah, don't know more.
Well, Diva discard. Diva
One
discard.
do.
Don't kill
They're
baby, don't kill
playing
baby.
Diva there.
Don't
Don't
kill
kill
it,
baby.
don't kill it.
Okay.
We
Good
should
choices
have
coming up, man.
shot calling,
Oh,
or we should have
nice.
been tracking
Oh, watch
else
out.
at this
Alright,
point while
nice.
we were stacking the
I'll
bases,
speed
whatever.
this. Okay,
Okay,
we
we
have
have
beat,
support
we
else.
have trans. We
Don't-
are going
don't
to
overlap.
trans the blade.
Yeah, save transfer blade.
Trans.
Beat for tempo, okay?
Trans.
Beat tempo.
Yeah. They're going to have blade this fight probably, so we're gonna have to blow that.
Someone's on
Okay.
point.
Good
Point,
point, good point.
Okay,
Don't
we got
point.
fucking
Who is it?
debated.
Oh, it's just.
It's my game.
At this point, when the Winston fucking dived us, this is just a team coordination issue, just in general. Getting caught out in this area is really fucking bad, especially for the supports, because the Winston goes in, perfectly separates me from the rest of my team. At this point, we should have sped straight to point and reestablished the front line, focused our tanks because they were getting no support anyway. Luckily, we outburst them because they're
Winston
Monkey, monkey, monkey,
discard.
monkey,
Yeah,
monkey.
yeah, separated,
Monkey,
separated,
monkey.
separated.
Like monkey if we can.
Monkey dead. Diva,
Nice.
Diva next. Diva
Diva
next.
discard. Point,
Come on, Diva.
point.
Diva than
He was on
Genji.
1 health, which is why I spent my dash. I decided, hey, I might as well get this Diva out of mech. It's gonna be worth. Jug is on this fucking Zenyatta.
I'm on point, I'm on point.
Oh shit, I'm
Play
low.
trans, play trans.
Nice, nice, nice.
Let me listen to that visor call again.
That.
Someone's
Okay,
on
okay.
point.
Good
Point,
point, good point.
Don't point. Who is it? Oh, it's just.
It's my game.
Winston
Monkey, monkey,
discard.
monkey, monkey,
Yeah,
monkey.
yeah, separated,
Monkey,
separated,
monkey.
separated.
Like monkey if we can.
Monkey dead. Diva,
Nice.
Diva next. Diva
Diva
next.
discard. Point,
Come on,
point.
Diva.
Diva than Genji.
That was really quiet. Maybe I need to turn him up. Maybe he's just louder at other times.
Point, 1 point.
Oh shit,
Play
I'm
trans,
low.
play trans.
Nice, nice, nice.
Nice. Watch Zen.
Nice, good shit, good shit.
Zen.
Zen?
Watch
Nice.
baby.
Tracer just
No,
cornered.
Lucio,
Baby's
Lucio.
dead.
Let's kill the.
I wonder what prompted us to use all of
We
them.
can.
Monkey dead. Diva,
Nice.
Diva next,
Diva
Diva next.
just point,
Come on,
point.
Diva than Genji.
Oh,
one point.
the enemy Dragon Bladed at the exact same time Salty Visor. That was a really good fucking visor. We tranced the blade like we said we would.
Oh shit,
Play
I'm low.
trans, play trans.
Nice, nice, nice.
Nice. Watch Zen.
Zenyatta, killing that Zenyatta.
Nice, good shit,
Zen
good shit.
set.
Zen?
Right.
Watch
Nice.
baby.
Tracer just
No, Lucio,
Baby's
Lucio.
dead.
Let's kill this Lucio.
Watch Lucio.
Lucio was not the call. He just spent beat and I forgot he did. For whatever reason, I thought they trans.
They just use beat.
Whatever.
Nice,
Not a
nice,
fight.
nice, good shit.
Nice.
Yeah, Zen, move up, move up. We can pulse the
Should've-
choke if we
Wait,
need.
did they blade?
Kill this
Oh, I
one.
fucking
Winston,
bodied
Nice, nice,
him.
nice.
Winston,
Nice, nice.
They use blade.
Farm out, farm out, farm out. Just kill him
Move
quickly.
up this.
What's he
Yeah,
doing?
we can burst
Zach,
him.
Oh.
what that positioning is maybe question.
Chris is gonna be back soon.
Winston one.
There's one out, man.
Nice.
He's dead.
Nice. Oh, I didn't even use my beat that round.
Yep, that was yep. Silva never had to use beat because they just never put enough pressure on us. That was a good first round because we 100-0'd them, but definitely could use a lot of improvement. It wasn't as clean as it should have been, right? There were some deaths and some team fights that we just shouldn't have had. Jugga dies. He probably died from pushing into the choke, which is what we should have done, but I think they just pushed him before we had the opportunity to. First round needs improvement. We need to work on team coordination, especially when the tanks dived us and we were in this courtyard area. We really need to just continue. Like once we made the decision to hey, they're on point. We need to go on point to contest that. We shouldn't have been called out, in the middle of a rotation. We should just committed to it, and like that really fucked. Like if their DPS were like on the point, like had they maybe it was a Tracer contesting a point and not a Genji, right? And then we get fucking doved on halfway through. Like that would have been real fucking bad.
Nice. Wait,
Rough
they bladed
stats.
when we tranced, right?
I definitely did not. I definitely should have built Blade a little faster, but I mean, our team did a good job of melting tanks. How many blades did I get in? I got in like one blade. It was a really bad blade and 70% to ult. I feel like my blade should maybe be a little bit closer, just because. Let's say they did take the team. Let's say they won the team fight, where we got caught halfway during our rotation, right? We would have been able to initiate next fight with the blade, right? Or at least be a support ult, but whatever.
Yes.
Yeah,
We
okay.
transferred blade.
They bladed as soon as I visored. Man.
Really?
Alright, that was round number 1. I'll probably do round number 2 some other time when I have the time and no schoolwork to work on, so that's cool.